All right, call the meeting of the Sanborn Regional School Board to order. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Great. Action on the minutes from December 1st, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, unanimous. All right, and then if no one objects, we've been asked to move 7.2, the COVID discussion, up because Mr. Stack would like to be able to go and watch his child perform, and I would love to be able to make that happen for him. So if no one objects, we will have him come up.
So I asked Mr. Stack to share. Some data, an updated version of the data that he had presented about COVID in our schools, just to give the board a state of awareness of kind of the trend for the year so far. And he's going to present that. And I just thought it'd be nice for you to be able to ask a principal what's happening in the buildings with our COVID plan directly instead of it just coming from me.
And thank you for moving it first. My 6th grader is the drummer in the middle school jazz band tonight. So a child that through COVID had no band experiences whatsoever. It's literally the first time I've ever seen him do this, and it's going to be pretty wild. So thank you. Just have some numbers to share with you, COVID data. Doing it in a visual format, I think that's a little bit more helpful. There's a handout coming around. Got people in the audience covered as well, just so everyone can see it. What I've done here is I've just literally taken the active number of cases as they're reported every single day by the school district on the school district website at the high school, and I've just charted them out for you, going all the way back to the beginning of the school year, all the way up to, I did this on Monday. We are sitting at 2 active cases as of today at the high school. And you know, active cases, student and or staff. We have had, I guess, 3 outbreaks. I don't want to call them outbreaks, but we'll call them upticks, so to speak. We expected, of course, the one at the beginning of the year because kids were back in session for the first time. We saw another uptick right at the beginning of October. We saw a much larger uptick in the middle of November. We had a couple of different instances where we moved from a mask recommended to a mask required status per our plans. So just to jog your memory a little bit with that, the first time we did that was right around the beginning of October, might have been October 3rd or 4th, somewhere in there. Someone with better notes than me will remember that. And that mask mandate went all the way for 2 weeks. It was a 14-day mandate. So it would have taken us to mid to late October. And then the second mask mandate, where we've been ever since, happened around that second spike at the middle of November. I mean, every day is a challenge. That goes without saying. We haven't had a day that our staffing has been strained to a level that we can't open, but we have certainly had days where we've been strained with staffing to the point where it's been difficult to get everything covered. And I will tell you, last thing, the increase in sub pay has paid off for us in terms of getting more subs available. It's been very helpful because now we do not have days like we were having at the beginning of the year where I'd walk in and see, well, we're down 6 people today. What are we going to do? So that's been good.
So to summarize, I think what Mr. Stack is saying is that we have noticed a correlation to when we flip in the plan from not masking to masking, the number of cases goes down dramatically. That's not a question.
Yep.
Our data clearly shows that. Why is another story. I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to sit here and I'm just saying that our local data shows that when we have students masked, we have less cases. However, there are real concerns about the social and emotional issues of wearing a mask in terms of student learning. Reading people's faces, nonverbal cues is an important part of learning, especially for our youngest students. And I just want to be clear that I haven't said much about this, and I'm just going to say this. I don't like making kids wear a mask more than anyone else. But if it's going to keep the school open, we need to keep the schools open. And literally in November, I had to put a school on remote for 2 days. 10% of their 10% of their students had COVID all at one time, not longitudinally, one day. 10%, not 10. So that means that out of 260 students, 28 kids simultaneously had COVID. I don't know if this will get better with the fact that students can be vaccinated at the younger ages. And I don't know what the parameters are for this, but I will say that when I say the parameters, I mean, I don't know what is the threshold for when our society says that the pandemic and masking and reporting cases to DHHS and quarantining is the threshold when the likelihood of passing away from COVID is less than a car accident? Is the threshold when it's less than the flu or the same as the flu? Some of those things we've already met. I don't really know. But I simply want everyone to have I've been asked to give you an opportunity to at least share your perspective on the reopening plan and how things are going, because we kind of want to know from you as a board, are we going to hold, the current plan has worked pretty well. We've had 2 school days that have been remote at one school, and we've had 1 classroom at one school that had a serious outbreak a week ago, and we put them on remote for 5 days. It was 50% of the class had COVID simultaneously. We don't really know why. We don't know if they had to get together outside of school. We don't know if they weren't careful at school. We really can't tell. It was at the Bakey school in 3rd grade. But that's it so far this year. So really overall, the amount of disruption to day-to-day functioning to school has been very limited. So I guess what I'm saying is that the administration's recommendation to the board is to continue the plan as is. That's our recommendation. But we needed to have a point where we review it. So we felt like it was good to give each of you, and what I would recommend to the chair is to allow each board member to speak about their thoughts. And I'm not asking for a vote or movement. It's more of a check-in. So Mr. Stack, if you can stay for just a few more minutes.
No, I'm good. Yeah.
I knew you were good till 6:30. So
7, I'm good.
that's my piece. Is I'm just simply saying, I feel like things are going as well as can be expected in the what we call it's called the endemic phase of a pandemic, where we start to move away from the strict hold to more open living is messy. It's very hard. The end of a pandemic is way harder than the beginning. Way harder, because as you move out of the restrictions, things start to happen. That's true of any, if you look at the data on the flu of 1918, it's exactly the same thing. So those are our thoughts. We just wanted to hear how you folks felt we were doing, and if there's anything we want to change.
Okay, you want to start?
Previously, when we've talked about this, there's been little to no transmission in the schools. Is that still the case?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we have a lot more evidence this year to suggest that we've had transmission issues, whether it's kids in the same team or even if it's outside of school. It's been obvious to us these students have been carpooling together or having a sleepover together, or it's been some societal things, right? I mean, we had trick-or-treating, right? We spiked right up after that. Is that why we spiked up? I don't know. Maybe. But
So-
I think
so hard.
there's some, right. But I think there's been instances where more so than last year, we can find transmission pieces. We've watched cases turn into clusters. I've had 2 instances this year where a staff member had COVID. Now, a staff member, in neither case, we don't have staff members coming to work sick, so I don't want anyone to take that the wrong way, but a staff member who was asymptomatic and had to be tested for another reason finds out they have COVID, and then within a week, there's a cluster in that classroom. That's, to me, as obvious as it can get that there was transmission in that classroom. Can I prove it? No. But it's coincidence that it happened twice, and both times there was a cluster in the classroom.
So the classroom at Bakey that had 50%, is that all cleared out now? And there's 2 remaining in the whole school, or?
No, that's the high school that has 2.
Okay,
Bakey won't be clear until next week because they're out right now. We don't know
Right.
yet.
okay.
Right. These numbers here are just high school numbers, and the high school has been. We've been doing very well for the last couple.
that he got back. Don't even say it.
Did knock on wood.
Take
He
it back.
did,
And
but
for those
that was back in October.
for those of you that get the high school updates well, you can look at the data online. We've had mostly zeros. Occasionally, yesterday we had a case. The day before we had a case. Sunday, I closed out all of our cases. We had no COVID cases for at least 6 hours before I got an email that there was a COVID case. Hey, it's the only 6 hours in the whole school year that we've had no COVID in school.
I think in the last 18 months.
Maybe, yeah.
So
Maybe.
one more question. So in the high school, now we have 2 cases.
Correct.
If we're going to stick to our plan, then masking should be recommended, but
No.
No, because the plan also accounts for community transmission.
community transmission. Okay.
So if you read the email that I sent last week, or Brian, we all sent it, the administration, the level of transmission is so severe in Rockingham County that the governor called in FEMA to expand the hospital into the garage bays of the
Yeah, I read
hospital.
that.
We have a lot of we believe that there is a real reason to be concerned right now. So I've been very transparent about what we believe as a
Yeah.
team through the year. We weren't concerned in September.
Well,
We
I
weren't as
independently looked at the numbers of COVID positive from the New Hampshire website, and it has spiked way up.
Way up.
Yeah.
And New Hampshire's leading the country right now in the number of cases. And I think that the real question for us is what I believe in local data and looking at local data because it's our data. I can trust it. I trust my nurses. I trust Mr. Stack and the administrators to look at this data. And what we have seen is that when we aren't masked, we immediately have an uptick right after. When we are masked, it comes way down. That's just a fact. I'm not saying that I agree with masking or disagree with masking. I'm saying the fact is when we wear masks at school, the number of cases goes down. I don't know if it's because people aren't touching their mouths or their eyes. I know that I don't touch my mouth or nose or eyes nearly as much when I'm wearing a mask. I don't know why that seems to be correlated. And I'm not even saying that correlation is causation. It could be that wearing the mask is so annoying that you just pay more attention to sanitizing your hands. I don't know.
I don't either. And I can tell you when we started the school year and it was mask recommended, I mean, I think we went from the first day of school, maybe 30% of the kids were wearing a mask. Second day, 20%, third day, 10%. By the fourth day, only a handful of students. After the first masking requirement period ended, we definitely had a pretty good sized population of folks continue to mask, which didn't happen at the beginning of the year. But I would say maybe it was a quarter of them were masking and 3/4 weren't. I don't know if you were to say to the students today, we're going to make it mask recommended, you can do it. Mr. Stack, what do you think it would be? I think it would be more 50-50, 2/3, 1/3. I think a higher percentage would still wear masks, but it wouldn't be a majority percentage. And I'm like, Tom, I don't, whatever I think or don't think about masks, it is, the data is pretty telling as far as what it's done for the high school, at least as one test case.
One more. Besides the masks, is there anything else being done differently during these peaks than the mask?
I mean, our facilities folks definitely try to increase what they're doing as far as the sanitizing piece, right? Hitting touch points a little bit more, but that's been tricky because we've been very short-staffed with custodians almost all throughout the year. So I can't say with certainty that they're hitting things more often because there's fewer of them, right? And the floors still have to be swept too. So as far as any changes to The schedule or distancing, no, there haven't been any differences in these timeframes at all.
Thanks.
I just want to remind everyone, we're not really here to discuss whether or not we should be wearing masks right now. We're asking you, is there anything about the plan that needs
Right.
to be changed?
Right.
And we're saying we feel like the plan is okay. But we're asking you for feedback because it's just good to check in.
Jamie?
Yeah, so I concur with that, with what Superintendent Ambrose is saying about staying with the plan as it is. Do I have concerns with it? Yeah, I had concerns with it when we took the plan to begin with. It's a balancing act. I've always been very concerned that, particularly when you get into the youngest kids and everybody's got masks on, it makes it very difficult to interact. We have already lost significant learning of our students over the course of this pandemic. And what's the right balance? Guarantee there's however many people in the district are going to have a different perspective as to what that right balance is. My perspective is that we'd continue. I've been very concerned with the increases in the hospitalization rates, but I've been trying to get some information, haven't been able to get it yet. I also, at the same time that I hear that the capacity is gone in some of these hospitals, I also see that they've laid off a number of staff. So is capacity staff related or bed related? It's not clear. And I'm trying to get that information directly from the hospitals because I just don't know the answer to
That's
it.
good. That's a good point.
Point.
But so even that data set, which is one that I was using as a bellwether, isn't such a bellwether anymore because we've skewed the data. But I think that staying in mask right now before the holidays is prudent. That makes sense to me. And I think that we should stay with the plan and reevaluate coming into the next calendar year. And hopefully last year, if you recall, there was a spike around Christmas and then it really tapered off fairly quickly in January. And I'm hoping that we're going to see the same thing, but I do think it's going to be something that we're going to have to monitor. I do think it's a weighment of balance as to the pros and cons of each situation. And I think personally that that weighment right now would, for the end of this year, I completely supported staying in the masks. I wouldn't support saying, let's do that for the rest of the year. I think we're going to have to manage it by the plan. And I do agree that we do want to make sure that the kids stay in school. And if we're running into problems doing that, then we have to take a look at this. But I think that it's manageable going forward with the plan as it is.
Thank you.
Heather?
I agree. I think we definitely should stay the plan. I think what's different this time around is it's colder. The windows aren't open. Everyone's indoors. We predicted that November, December could get scary. The doctors predicted, the hospitals. I would like us to mask 2 weeks post the holiday just to be sure that everything goes down so we don't have another outbreak. We also know we have some families in the community that they don't want masking, and I get that and I understand that, but I do think the numbers are substantial in the state. Like being number one in the country for COVID cases is not something that we should be proud of, and I do think we need to keep the course that we're doing right now.
Okay, thanks.
So the status right now, the mask mandate, it's for the entire district, right?
Mhm.
Is justified, that is dictated by the plan?
Absolutely.
I guess my feeling is we might want to just be clearer about when we do enact a mask mandate, what part of the plan, which metric is driving that, because I think that people may not understand that.
Okay.
We started out, I think there was a misconception at the very beginning when we adopted the plan that we were saying, okay, masks are always going to be optional. We tried to stress that was how we were beginning the year, but we probably would have to make different decisions based on the numbers. I think if we're going to do that it's just good. I think maybe a little more clarity so that people understand, okay, we're enforcing this mask mandate because the plan says we're going to do that when this happens.
We did communicate that, just to be fair, and I'm not being defensive, but I just want to make sure that you personally had read the constant contact that said that due to the plan, the community-wide transmission rates, that's what checked this box for this time. Other times it's been local transmission rates, and we've tried to err on the side of local transmission when it was gray. But in this instance, it fell the other way, where the community-wide transmission is so huge. The whole issue with Exeter, the governor calling in FEMA, we just felt like to keep school open until, especially during the holidays when parents need to work, that the safest measure was to stay masked. But the other piece is we were afraid that if we didn't, that we might ruin people's holiday to not be together as families, because sometimes the cases don't show up until a week after exposure. So we were trying to limit the amount of spread. We are seeing school-wide transmission. We are. When we're not masked and we're together, we see school-wide transmission of everything. Colds, the flu, anything. We see less. For me, this is less about masking than about parameters and following the plan. And I agree with you completely that explicitly communicating that. Tammy, I would love for you to check out the constant contact one more time. And if you can give me feedback about it, if there was a way we could have been clearer, we're open to that.
I thought the constant contact was a little bit all over the place, frankly.
Okay. All right, great.
When
Let's
you,
talk
I mean,
about that.
referencing FEMA is not in our plan.
Right.
Doesn't say
right.
in our plan, if the governor calls out FEMA, it doesn't say that.
Okay.
So it doesn't say that we're, if a holiday's coming up and we want to make sure that people have a good holiday and parents are able to work, it doesn't say that in our plan that's why we're going to mandate masks.
Right.
So if we're going to mandate masks, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I just think what I've seen from requests, from the community is to have a framework that they can understand
Mhm.
and that they know, okay, when this happens, this is the result.
Okay.
That's,
Thank you.
I'm just saying, as to the best degree possible, be as clear as possible
Thanks.
with the framework.
Great.
Well, it's come as no surprise I'm against this. I feel like we keep moving the goalposts on what we're trying to do. And I'll be clear, I don't fault the administration, the school board. A lot of this is out of your control. And I think the public, the people who don't want masks, I want to be clear that you are not the enemy in this situation. I think it's way above our head. I said this in August. What is the goal here? Do we think we're not going to have COVID in our schools? We're going to have COVID in our schools. We talk about holidays, ruining your holidays. I've had my last 2 Thanksgivings ruined by COVID. You know what? It's gone through my house. I don't care. I've had it. I get to move on now. And I shouldn't say I don't care, but I'm just saying, you know what? Now I know I get to have a Christmas, but I've seen it ruin my last 2 Thanksgivings and my other holidays. All we're doing is prolonging this. At some point, the masks are going to come off and we have lowered our immunity. When kids go to school, when they start public school, the kids who've been home are the ones who get sicker because they haven't had exposure. The kids in daycare have had exposure. They come to school and they don't get as sick. So all we're doing right now is killing our immunity. I'm not going to get scientific of data points and this and that, but I've said this, I can't support any further mask mandate. We're just kicking the can on this, I think. And I appreciate this. And Mr. Sack, I think I can't argue with any of this. This is really interesting. And I'm not going to disagree with that. I think also how many families have had it that when we come back from Christmas, have the kids already had it? So what's going to happen? We are in a flu season, and I feel like we've been conditioned that this is what's going to happen. December is going to come. It's going to be cold. The windows are going to be like, this is what's going to happen. Yep, we called it. Yeah, we did. But I almost feel at the same time like we've pushed ourselves into this. And at this point, younger kids now have the option to get a vaccine. So it's optional. Let's not forget, if you want to mask your child, you can mask your child. But for the kids that have had it, they're immune. So, and I get you can't pick little Johnny. Okay, you had COVID, you don't have to wear it, but it should be up to the parents. So
Thank you.
all I have to say.
Did you want to add anything?
No, but everybody should know we're doing the best we can with the best information we have. and we're going to make the best decisions that we can based on it. And if the people don't like it, run for my seat.
Are you going to be running
Oh,
from
I mean,
your seat?
seriously, right? I mean, it really is beginning to tick me off society-wise that everybody's complaining about all these politicians not doing what they should be doing. And yet you vote people in that all of a sudden later you find out you don't like them. You don't like the way I ran my decisions? Take my seat. That's great. That's what it's all about. We're doing the best damn job we can. We told the people back in September, we're going to have masks. It's going to be up to the parents, but it's subject to change. Well, guess what, folks? The change came and we had to make the decision.
I just want to be clear.
We're
that
up front with them. What more do they want from us?
we have had, since we asked people to wear masks, the last 2 times, I've had one email.
One what?
One email from a
Yeah.
parent who was upset about masking. One. And it's not because, trust me, I spend a lot of time with these people because I really care. And it really bothers me that this is so hard. We have had 155 cases of COVID this year as of last week on December 6th. So Maura, I looked up the numbers that you had asked me about.
Yeah.
155, 10% of our students district-wide have had COVID this year. 10%. So it's way lower than I thought it would be when I pulled those numbers. I thought it'd be 20%, 25%. I just need to know. I just thought that we should, I was asked by a couple of board members to ask Dawn to put this on the agenda to have a public conversation about where people stood on this and find out if the plan was going to stand as is. And what I'm hearing so far is that it is, that we leave the plan as is. And Tammy, thank you for the feedback on the communication. The community transmission was the trigger, but it probably wasn't clear in the email. I'll look that over and we'll make that better in the future. Like, we always appreciate that critical feedback because we don't want people to think that we're just playing with it, but it is really, really, I can't tell you, these are the hardest decisions that we make. I think Brian would agree. We labor over these decisions.
There's no right decision. I mean, I personally, when I go out into stores with my family, we're probably not wearing masks for all the reasons you just described. But I also recognize when we're in this environment and kids are required to be there and staff are required to be there, it's a different metric to follow. So honestly, we agonize over decisions. I don't see where the right is either. I can see two people on both sides of the fence arguing their points for it and say, yep, that makes a lot of sense on both sides of the fence. Seriously. And yet we're still here and we have to do something. It's not easy to be you right now.
I'm just curious, is it the Memorial and the Bakey School having higher transmission than the high school, middle school?
It varies from week to week.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right now, Bakey's higher. At one point, high school was way
And-
higher.
yeah.
And another time, Memorial
Yeah.
was.
And right now, a lot of our cases are coming from children are getting it because previously they were quarantining because somebody else in the household had it. So
I
that's
just
how
want-
they're getting it.
I want to take this moment, though, to plug one thing that I've been saying since this started. Sleepovers are a nightmare. Having kids sleep over to someone else's house is one of the biggest things that we face as a challenge, and we have zero control over it.
It's true.
Yep. Thanks, Brian.
So
Good luck. Tell your son good
go.
luck.
Good luck.
Thanks, Brian.
So to Maura's point, and the answer was 10% have had it.
10% of students this year. It doesn't count all of last year, just
Okay.
September 1st.
I'm kind of curious, not that it affects my support for the plan.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if 10% of them had it, so they have natural immunity presumably.
3 months.
3 months.
That's all it
That's
lasts?
3 months because
Okay.
I know people that have gotten it twice.
Well, how many of the students have been vaccinated? Do you know?
I don't.
Okay. Is that information that you can get?
I don't know that you can legally get that information.
I don't know. I'd
I
have to
don't
look
know
into
that
that.
The individuals.
I know for staff, but I don't know for students. And the staff is an estimate because someone may not share, but it's very high among the staff.
Okay. I think that's an important number to have.
Mhm.
How many have been vaccinated?
I don't know if you can get that.
I
number
don't
with
think you
HIPAA.
can legally get that.
Well, I don't
information.
mean
request
individually,
it.
individual. I guess that's something that the school has a record if it's done here, but if it was done somewhere else.
We don't, we don't vaccinate here.
Oh, you don't?
We only did staff, not students.
But
I
you
just
did
holy smoke it.
vaccinations here last
No,
year.
not for students, only
Oh, staff
staff,
only?
voluntarily,
All right,
voluntarily.
okay. Because to Maura's point, at some point, through vaccinations or natural immunity, it seems to me we would have to unmask and just to let the process take its, course. Just seems realistic to me.
Well, now that school's in, kids who go, let's say you got 1,000 kids in the school, right? Over 3 months, 500 of them are going to get it. So as you go after the 3 months, eventually everybody's going to have it, be vaccinated, or have immunity to it because they had it. And your numbers are hopefully going to drop.
Right.
So hopefully there's going to come a time soon after vacation that the numbers are going to dwindle, but you won't need the mask.
Well, the numbers will dwindle organically as we can open up the buildings, get people outside too.
Right.
It's the inside piece. And I said this in September. I said, I'm not worried about today. I'm worried about November.
Mhm.
And sure enough, it happened. And that's what happens every year. It isn't COVID specific. We always saw upticks in the flu in November.
Yeah.
We always saw upticks of the flu in December, January, and February. People are inside and right next to each other. So I don't want to, we have a big agenda tonight. There's a huge non-public. So I want to close this if people are comfortable with just saying we're holding steady with the plan. I don't even need a vote. We would only need a vote to change the plan. So if everyone's good and we're ready to move forward, I just thought it was good for you all to have a chance. I think Heather wanted
Can
to
I just
share
have a
last.
clarification? Would the plan include the 2 weeks post Christmas?
No, it does not. We would look at the local data at that time.
Okay.
So if you want to make a motion to have us masked for 2 weeks after Christmas, you would need to do that.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to be masked 2 weeks post the holiday vacation.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. You want to have a motion to what?
To have the district masked for 2 weeks post the holiday vacation.
Why would we even vote on that? That guy called.
Heather's saying regardless of the plan, she would like to have us wear masks for 2 weeks after the break because kids may have transmission
We
outside
can
of school.
vote on it. I just don't see the purpose.
Right.
The necessity for the school board to vote on that.
It's
You're
well,
the guy
I-
in charge.
we're gonna make decisions, as Tammy said, based on the plan. Right now, the community transmission, just so it's really clear, in Rockingham County, the amount of transmission is what drove the decision to stay masked right now, not the number of cases in the school. Right? So if what Heather's saying is,
No, I have no problem. with that.
regardless of where those numbers are, or the matrices are, she would like us to mask after the break just to be safe, is what she's saying.
Yeah.
Heather, am I
Second her motion for discussion.
okay?
All right, discussion. Jamie?
So I want to come back to just the comment that Tom made about he's only had one person contact him. I think that people are giving us the benefit of the doubt because we haven't said we're going to go back and have masking for the year. If we did that, which I do not support, I think you get a very, very different perspective.
I
think
agree.
people are believing we are trying very hard to thread a needle. And they're willing to have some forbearance with us around that. So I just wanted to get that up from the prior comment. To Heather's motion, I wouldn't be prepared sitting here now, 2+ weeks from that date, saying this is what we have to do at that date, because I don't know what 2+ weeks look like. And this has changed too much. And we have seen spikes before come down considerably, maybe not in New Hampshire, but in other states. I mean, remember, we heard all through the press that Florida was a complete basket case and it was horrible. And Florida for the past 2.5 months has been the lowest in the country. So this can shift. So I would not be prepared to state now that this is what we should do 2.5 weeks from now. I would want to follow the plan and understand where we are at that point in time.
Make the decision then.
Move the vote.
All in favor? All right, all opposed?
Okay.
All right,
But it was valuable that we talked about it.
I think
So
it was
wanna-
very
I
good
want
to
to
talk
thank you
about.
for that. That was important.
all right, so we will move on to communications. I have started passing around the manifest documents.
Sorry.
Tom, you have some nominations.
Oh, yeah, I got to go backwards now. All right. First of all, I want to say that, can you hear me?
I
Is
can
that
hear.
better? Okay. For those of you in the audience, I can now use my NPR voice because the microphone is close enough. I just wanted to say that we're very excited. We had a second round of interviews today. Samantha Horrigan has accepted the position of the Systems Care Project Manager that was empty.
What's her name?
Samantha Horrigan, Horrigan. And at the Bakey School, we have found an interventionist to help us out. Her name is Joanne Durfee. And we also used 2 paraeducator positions to create that position per the board. So thank you. That's really much needed right now coming out of the remote learning that we did last year.
All right, we have no resignations, so we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Oh, do we need?
Oh, we need to make a motion to accept.
Thank you. I was just about to, yeah.
Move to accept?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? All right, now we'll move on to the superintendent.
Thank you. I'll just quickly, really the COVID update already happened because that was a big part of what we've been working on. I just wanted to share with everyone that we have had it's been a very busy couple of weeks at the central office. And I can just say that we are hoping that if things go well this evening at the historic committee meeting with Mr. Chinberg, that we'll be closing on the seminary tomorrow at 3:00. So we're very, very excited about that. I want to thank Matt Angel. He and I have worked very, very hard, to be honest, over the last 7 days, because when you're closing a property like this, it's kind of like closing a house times 10. And it seems like every 15 minutes, something huge is coming up. So again, it's a tentative closing at 3:00 tomorrow, depending on the meeting, which starts at 7. And I'm watching my phone as I sit here.
It's getting close.
Yeah, I know.
I'm watching it too.
It's funny. I'm just so hopeful that we're at the end of this, but we'll see what happens over the next 24 hours. So if for some reason we don't close tomorrow, we still have time before January 31st to meet the deadline. So we'll figure it out. Other than that, we are looking forward to holiday break, and things have been going relatively smoothly at the schools, despite having a number of people absent for various illnesses. We have had enough coverage because the sub situation has stabilized because of the board's raising of the pay of subs, which Mr. Stack mentioned earlier. I've been going to the early morning drop-offs for Bakey and Memorial quite often, and I have to tell you that it is just so nice to see kids coming to school, the smiles on their faces. My favorite one is the kindergarten kid with a 35-pound backpack that can barely make it in the door. He's kind of running with his body horizontal and the backpack's flopping over. And
I thought that was Molly or something.
yeah, no, I just love that. I mean, having been a K2 principal, Bakey drop-off has a special place in my heart. I love to, if I kind of need a boost, I go over to Bakey for drop-off and see the kids getting out of the car in the morning. They're just adorable. And in general, as I walk through the buildings, what I've noticed is that things feel more normal right now than they did in September. Things felt kind of tentative in September, naturally, right? People just kind of were getting back into a routine, and it's been a super challenging couple of years. But at this point, when I go through the schools, things just have a feeling of comfort and stability. There are challenges. Our staff is tired. They're working really, really hard to make this work. It's not easy. They get stressed about COVID and these conversations that we still have to have. But I just want to say publicly thank you to our teachers, ed techs, paras, custodians, and the secretaries for everything they've done this fall. If they weren't helping and showing up and working so hard, we wouldn't be able to do this. So I just wanted to publicly acknowledge our staff for all of their hard work and efforts this fall. They've done an amazing job. And that's the conclusion of my superintendent's report.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to committee reports. We'll start with policy.
We did not have our last policy meeting. That was canceled due to a family conflict. Our next policy meeting is January 5th, 2022 at 5:00.
Excellence in student achievement.
Excellence in student achievement met prior to this meeting, so I will summarize at our next meeting.
Finance.
Finance, excuse me, Finance Committee met this afternoon. There was 2 budget adjustments I need to report out. One was special education. We're moving $38,104 from in-state tuition account to tuition non-public account for an out of placement. And the other one I think actually needs some board attention. It's to move $33,448 to Chase Field maintenance from premium health insurance. And the reason I think that we need to talk about that is we only have one quote. It's for $33,448. Normally we have to have more than one quote. We have not been able to get a lot of people interested in quoting on it. We haven't been able to get people that will engage in that activity. And it's a bit time is of the essence. If we don't move on it soon, we're not going to have the field available for spring baseball. So if you wait until we get until we can get more quotes, we're going to be right up into the January timeframe, maybe even to the end of January, and we're not going to have the field available for the season. But since the policy is that we get the quotes, we decided in the Finance Committee meeting that we voted in favor of this to bring it to the board, supporting this for a vote to waive the policy to allow this to go forward so that we can have the field available for the season starting in the spring. Still some risk there because depending on what weather does and spring rains, et cetera, but this gives us a fighting chance. And if we delay it, we won't have a fighting chance.
Okay.
I'd add to that there was another estimate for a part of the work, which was less, but it didn't include the dirt that's needed for the infield, which is a substantial part of the project. So my analysis of that is that the estimate that we did get, because it includes everything, is actually a more competitive estimate than the $20,000 we got, which is not even for the whole job. It was just kind of a preliminary, we can start it at that.
They also can't start it until, was it next summer?
Yeah.
So their lead time, just time of the essence, this other company also can't start until then. So, and this other company is ready to, the one that we're proposing, they're ready to jump on it ASAP.
I think Mr. Angel said they're ready to start tomorrow.
Yeah.
We are. Would now be the time, I mean, I realize it's committee reports, but this is kind of a kissing cousin to the committee report.
Yeah.
Now be the time to make the motion?
I was going to do that. I just want to make sure that people.
Yeah. right.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the budget transfer and waive the policy to allow us to proceed forward with only one quote in order to repair Chase Field.
I'll second that.
And why are we waiving it? I just
We-
want that on the record.
Yeah, we're waiving it because we don't have an ability to get more quotes in time to preserve the use of the field for the coming season.
And we've been trying since April. Yes.
No, but you see why I
Yep.
want to.
No, it's perfect. I just wanted to put that into the record that we've been trying since April.
Okay. Any discussion? All right. all
In
in-
a second.
Oh,
Jim,
I was gonna
Jim
say,
second.
Okay, thanks.
pretty sure we had one. All right. All right. If there's no discussion, then all in favor?
All right.
All right. Unanimous. All right.
I just want to say on behalf of the athletics and the students, thank you very much. This is a really important community
Mm,
Yes.
event.
I agree. Thank you.
All right.
And I'll have a full report of the minutes for the next meeting.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Facilities.
So facilities is a little bit long because it includes excerpts from a tour that we took after the meeting. The Facilities Committee met on Wednesday, December 1st. The meeting was called to order at 3:30 p.m. Attending were Jamie Fitzpatrick, Pete Broderick, Jim Baker, Superintendent Tom Ambrose, Business Administrator Matt Angel, and Safety and Facilities Manager Dan Doyle. The committee reviewed and approved the minutes of the October 6th meeting. Matt Angel gave his business administrator's report. One of the burners on one of the 2 boilers at Bakey, these are the new boilers, is down. The contractor has expedited an order for the new burner part, which is under warranty. And today in finance, Mr. Doyle confirmed that the burner's been repaired. Mr. Angel reported one of the septic pumps at Bakey has failed and bids are being solicited for work to replace the 2 pumps. There's also work needed on the electrical panel, which sustained water damage. The application of wood chips under equipment on the playgrounds at Bakey and Memorial has been completed. A meeting with a contractor regarding repairs to Chase Field was scheduled for December 2nd, and we've heard about the result of that. Mr. Angel advised that a portion of the roof of the middle school at the over the cafeteria kitchen needs redoing. Bids for that work are in progress. Also, Mr. Angel anticipates the Ford 350 truck the school board approved purchasing will be delivered in January. The truck it is replacing will be sold in auction. The committee reviewed the trust fund balances as of October 31st, 2021. The balances are as follows. Special Education Fund, and I'm just going to round these off, $241,207. Capital Improvement Fund, $273,067. Unanticipated Educational Expense Fund, $200,220. And Facilities Use Fund, $166,343 for a total of $880,838.37. And if you add the use of funds balance that we retained last year of $545,000, the total reserve funds come to $1,425,838. Mr. Ambrose stated that when he was hired, these funds were very low. With these funds to fall back on, if something unexpected happens, it makes it easier to be conservative and make tighter budgets. The committee discussed bids by two contractors on installing elevator controls on the elevator at the high school. The committee has been advised the controls are needed to prevent students from using the elevator to vape. Vaping on school grounds is against school policy. The committee discussed elements of the CIP. Three big areas of immediate concern are the high school auditorium, wireless upgrades, and resurfacing the running track. Mr. Ambrose stated that the cost of resurfacing the track would be about $75,000 now, but if the track is let go, the cost could be $250,000 or higher. He also stated that when he started, there was a legacy of neglected facilities. As he looks ahead, he wants the facilities to be well maintained. Mr. Broderick expressed concerns that the facilities be maintained in good condition and related his frustration and past experience, the neglect of the science building at the seminary campus. Mr. Baker stated concern that the CIP be a viable and fundable document that could be relied on to keep the school facilities in good condition. And Mr. Fitzgerald stated he too is concerned the facilities be well maintained and that the CIP is carefully developed while keeping academic considerations very much in mind. Thereafter, the meeting was adjourned and Mr. Fitzpatrick and Mr. Baker joined Mr. Angel and Mr. Doyle on an inspection tour of areas of the high school facilities they advised needed addressing. We viewed the auditorium control room and Mr. Angel showed us various equipment and the floppy disk that is used in operations. We did a tour of the boiler room and saw some exterior insulating panels that were separating due to warping. We also viewed the chimney that rainwater had been leaking into because the chimney did not have a cap. Mr. Doyle explained a custom cap needs to be made. We viewed the bottom of the chimney that had been cleaned of buildup and drained, and a filtered drain that was installed to handle acid water discharges. We viewed areas of the masonite gray coated exterior siding at the high school. Leaks have developed between the masonite panels and the masonite is showing signs of water damage. Replacement will be included in the CIP. We viewed damaged concrete at the loading dock and access stairwell. Mr. Angel explained that he would like the committee to evaluate proposals for civil engineers as we did for an architect and choose a preferred firm. When needed for complex issues, the civil engineer would evaluate damage and offer options for repair and could also be consulted on ongoing as needs arise. The committee inspected the science room greenhouse windows and Mr. Doyle explained that the water collects on the windows in the roof and seeps down the walls of the greenhouse. The caulking that was done did not stop the leaking. We discussed various solutions. Mr. Doyle will look into them, including the cost ranging from replacing the windows in the roof to replacing the entire greenhouse. The committee walked the roof of the high school. We viewed flashing that may be leaking, causing interior stains on the ceiling at the corner of the silo located above the main and second floor stairwell. Part of the flashing had been caulked, but a large seam needed additional caulking. Mr. Doyle will have that done and let us know the result. The next facilities committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, January 5th at 3:30 p.m. please consult the school district website, sau17.net, for access and location details.
Thank you. Public relations.
Yes, Public Relations met on December 1st. In attendance, myself, Ms. Basha, Mr. Ambrose, excuse Ms. Ingham. The committee resumed our discussions that we were having from the previous meeting about the process for reviewing and revising the strategic plan, particularly with regard to community input. A survey will be published, which it has actually been published. I'll throw that out there. And people are encouraged to take that survey. And a meeting will be scheduled with the public. Dr. Haynes will be invited to attend the next month's meeting to discuss a target date for that. Committee also discussed ways to engage the community in the budget process, which is underway currently and culminates at the polls in March. During that time, there will be several meetings where the board will deliberate. There'll be a public hearing and a deliberative session. One idea is to increase distribution of meeting videos, our board meeting videos, including possibly texting them out. Mr. Ambrose also suggested creating some additional videos summarizing important information about the budget. He would like to do this after EISA meetings as well. It was also suggested that the district consider distributing board meeting minutes, as the towns currently do, by email. Our next meeting is on January 5th at 4:30.
Thank you. All right, personnel. We met tonight, or this afternoon. It was actually 3 o'clock. I don't have those minutes yet, but I have the last minutes that we approved tonight, which were from October 20th, 2021. In attendance were myself, Mr. Baker, Mr. Broderick, Mr. Angel, and Diana Rooney. So in that meeting, I'm going to give a very brief summary. In that meeting, we were discussing job descriptions because there are a lot of job descriptions that need updating. They don't necessarily reflect all of the actual role. It doesn't describe the actual role that all staff have. So we had to clean them up and modify them because it's been a long time. So the few that we went over and we did update were special education school counselor, high school special education building coordinator, middle school special education building coordinator, out of district coordinator, special education social worker, student service administrative assistant. All of those were discussed, reviewed, and we all decided to move them forward. Now there is question if we need to truly bring them forward to the board for full approval, or if they can just be approved in personnel. I believe we've talked to Mr. O'Shaughnessy. He said it is not required to bring them to the full board for approval. They're just updated and they can be approved by personnel committee. So we're going to discuss that a little further and decide how we'd like to proceed with that. And if we do want to bring them to the board or whatnot. So that's something that we're going to be discussing. So I will update you on that at the next meeting. And our next meeting is January 19th at 3 p.m. SST. You have
Oh,
anything?
they have not met. Thank you.
Okay. Budget.
Yep. The budget committee has actually met twice since our last meeting. The first one was on December 2nd. So that meeting was to discuss and vote for the new budget that was put forth from the school board. I explained to them as the budget representative why the school board chose to decrease it by $50,000. The school board did adopt it unanimously. There were a couple of concerns.
Excuse me, Maura. I think the BudCom adopted it unanimously.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did I say?
You said school board.
Oh,
I
I'm
just
sorry.
wanted to
Sorry.
clarify.
The BudCom unanimously voted for the $50,000 reduction that was sent to them by the school board. Some of the comments that were made in the discussion is similar to what we talked about here last week, which were using some of the unexpended funds for the track, auditorium, and the Wi-Fi. There were also like a couple of members that expressed concern over what the role was of the school board representative to the budget committee. They didn't feel that the RSA stated that the school board representative to the budget committee was supposed to vote a certain way. I also did explain that I was there to represent the school board, and I explained also how, while I did not vote in favor of what the school board put through, that I wasn't far off from what the rest of the school board wanted. And I was going to vote. I made it known that I would vote in line with what the school board had voted for. There was also a lot of appreciation from the budget committee members to the school administration for all the work that they've done. They answered a lot of questions, a lot of links, and they were all very appreciative of what the administration had done. The next meeting, which was last week, December 9th. We met to discuss the presentation of at the deliberative session, and the presentation we went through the old slides of what we had done before. There was discussion. One of the things that I said I would bring forward to the school board is one of the slides had the school board goals on there, and it was discussed whether or not the budget committee should be presenting what the school board goals were, whether it was appropriate. So I said I would bring that back to you guys with whether or not it's appropriate for the budget committee, and if the school board plans to put forth what the goals were. The budget committee is still looking for a new recording secretary. And the next meeting is on January 6th, 2022. Do we discuss that part now, or does that get brought up later?
I think the question is, does the school board goal have context with the budget? So I guess we could discuss it now to give more feedback, because she has to go to another budget committee meeting and bring that back to them. I think that would be appropriate.
Okay.
It's just my
School
opinion.
board, the budget committee is the budget committee. They're our goals. They're not the budget committee's goals. The budget committee is responsible to oversee the budget, to make recommendations to the budget.
Right. The question is,
And
in their role,
if they want to be nice about it, I suppose no, you can't really stop them, but it's our job to present our.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and that's what they're saying because right now our goals are listed in their presentation. So
Yeah.
they're asking if we need to present those, or if we would.
Right, or should
Continue to
they
have
be
them.
taken out of the slide? I think that there's some back and forth with where is the line drawn of what is the budget committee's role? And, I think you can go off in all these gray areas and all these tangents of what the budget committee is responsible for. Are they responsible for what the towns are doing? Well, you could say, no, they're not, but they do have to keep that in mind when they are voting on a budget. They have to keep in mind what their individual towns are also going to be voted in. So there's sort of all these gray areas of where it goes. And I think one of the reasonings for it would be, does this budget support the school board's goal? So I can see it both ways. Like I
I
said, you
think-
can go into a tangent with it, but
I think they would be well served if they read chapter 32 in a little more detail. I mean, no offense meant to the budget committee, but I see some of these questions coming. As far as what their role and goal is, it's perfectly outlined at the beginning of chapter 32. They really need to get into that. That is your budget Bible. It's well differentiated between the role of the school board. Well, the role of school board isn't in chapter 32, but what their role and function is. I mean, nobody can stop anybody from speaking and saying, hey, I want to talk about the goals of the school board, but any questions, they couldn't even answer them if somebody had a question. So, I think they'd be well served not to get into those weeds.
Maybe.
So I think that actually the question is, as the budget committee prepares the presentation that they're going to use to present the budget to the public in the public hearing where we're not there, and then the deliberative where we are there, but we don't typically make our own presentation.
Right.
I think the question is, I mean, the budget committee's presentation is all theirs. They can do whatever they want. But if the school board goals are relevant, like Mr. Ambrose said, contextually, does it help? I mean, the question really is, do the budget, our goals, or the school board's goals help to support the budget? Is that going to help to explain to the public why we crafted the budget that we did? I mean, that's really the question.
And I agree that it does.
The deliberative session is the responsibility of the budget committee.
Yes.
That's why they're asking, should they,
You're
the
saying
question.
By presenting our goals, it would clarify something. That's one thing, but I guess I'm confused by, should they present it? I guess that was the word.
I think it was just, the question was, should they include a slide in their presentation
No, I see what
that has
you
our
said.
goals on it?
The way I interpreted what she said was that they would present the goals.
Yeah.
What
they're-
we're going to do in another couple of weeks after we go through this draft.
Right.
know.
That's certainly not.
But I can
right.
see if they say, this is in line with the goals of the, yeah, that's perfectly acceptable, but present it is really, I think, not in their wheelhouse.
Can I?
We agree.
I just want to, first of all, the school board goals are public. And it is the BudCom's presentation. So I don't feel comfortable telling them what they can and can't present in their presentation. If sharing what the school board goals are in the context of the budget supports the passage of the budget, yeah, let's do that. Right. But ultimately, the school board goals are public information that you can just get off the website. And they're the budget committee presenting the budget. And if they think that there's a linkage and they want to share that, then that's certainly within their purview. And it's not our presentation, it's theirs.
I just want to read the school board goals just to refresh
Thanks, Jim.
our memory. Number one was grading system. Move to a numeric grading system that translate into a letter grade with both appearing in Alma on the reports. Number two, strategic plan, create a core 5-year strategic plan. And 3, math curriculum research and implement a new math curriculum for grades 7 through 12 by the fall of 2022. So it's the budget committee's presentation. And I want to say that I appreciate the question and the consideration from the budget committee to ask us what we want.
Yeah, me too.
But it's the budget committee's presentation, but the goal of the presentation is to explain to the public why we're asking for this money.
Right.
And I think the goals are part of that. The school board's the governing body. So the school board, the budget is really, the superintendent proposes it, but it's the school board's budget that goes to the budget committee. So I think that, given the fact that it sounds like they're willing to consider putting it in there, and the school board is the governing body, it determines how the money's spent. I think it would be important for the public to know what those goals are as part of the presentation.
Mhm.
Okay.
So is it fair for me to kind of go back and say, if, they feel like it's your choice of how you present it, if you feel like it helps to show how to justify the budget and how it came up with, if you feel like it's relevant, then it should be in it. I guess in a nutshell.
Then we would appreciate if they put it in it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so you're saying you want them to put it in. Is that, I think at first I was kind of hearing, it should be up to them. Are you saying you want them to?
So
It's their decision.
I think that my mind would be, if they choose to put that in, we have no objection whatsoever and we're in favor of it.
Okay, so
Perfect.
that's different than what Tammy says. Tammy says she wants them to. You're saying if they want to.
Well, I don't think we can tell them they have to.
I
think
said
we-
we would
It's not
appreciate
telling
it.
me either way.
I said
Yeah.
That would be appreciated. I didn't say they have to. I didn't say
That's
they
a little
should.
different though than I think Jamie's
But we
saying.
can't tell them to do anything, just like they can't tell us. So it's going to be their choice. If they feel it's going to support,
Appreciate, I would appreciate means, no, yeah, it'd be really nice if you did.
I-
And what Jamie's saying is, if you feel like it works, then you should do
that's
it.
the only thing we can say. Because we cannot dictate to them any more than they can dictate. to
I
us.
think we're kind
So
of
if they
beating.
feel it'll support their budget, go for it.
Can I feel like we're kind of beating a dead horse a little bit here in the sense that I think the feedback more is it's perfectly fine if they would like to include them.
Okay, if they want to include it, they can include it.
Okay.
I think, is there anybody here that wouldn't like them to include it?
Doesn't really matter. It's their
Well,
presentation.
It's part of the discussion now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think if they see fit to do that, I think they should.
Yeah. That's what.
But I don't want to be in a position of saying,
Isn't that what
I
I
told them
said?
to do it.
It would be
We're still
appreciated.
at it.
The sentiment is we'd like them to do it.
No, Jim, I'm not comfortable sharing that with them because that's not our purview.
I
Yeah,
think it's-
we need to.
Is that the sentiment? or
Pertinent.
no?
If they feel that if they feel it will help them present the budget in a clear, concise manner to the
Right.
voters,
Yeah.
and that's
Yep.
how they want to do it, then I think that is
That's their
appropriate.
choice.
Then we're supportive.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I don't think they should, personally, I wouldn't, because they're going to get mired down into the weeds of the goals of the school board. And I
Just
would-
one slide, Pete.
Yeah,
And
just-
they've,
We
it's
already
been in,
started
it's
getting
been
Guys,
in
we're-
there before.
All
Okay,
right.
it's been there-
Yeah,
it's been
Dawn,
there
you gotta
last
gavel
year.
this
Well,
one.
when people
All
are gonna
right,
start asking-
so we're gonna move on. I think Maura has a good idea of what she's
Yeah.
going to go back with. Does wellness have anything?
We
Okay.
haven't met.
Okay.
I really
Still?
want to say something.
I know you.
I
do.
asked Mr. All
I
right.
keep
there you go.
asking. All right, so we're gonna go
Well,
to.
to be fair, I
Jocelyn.
was out.
Oh,
so
that's right. Yeah.
I was
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to Jocelyn.
So we have a lot of news today, which is awesome. A lot of things happening in the school. So first off, we finally got in all of the all-state nominations, which is like they pick each coach nominates certain people that they think really are great players, great people as a whole, to like the whole state, and they vote on who they think is the best. So we had for boys soccer, James O'Connell got second team all-state.
Wow.
Girls soccer, Sydney O'Toole, honorable mention. Field hockey, Abby Lucas, first team All-State, and Kate Lucier, second team All-State. Cross country, Jared and Tyson Khalil, D2 team. Jared, all New Hampshire team, which is they're named on like a specific team for something. I don't know a lot about cross country, but this is what Dawson sent me. So for football, Kevin Kaloje got first team All-State. Nate Ashby got first team All-State. Jake Comley got first team All-State, and Spencer Foley got second team All-State, and Tristan Donegan got honorable mention. So that's all for the All-States. Student Council is hosting with NHS 12 Days of Caring, where we're collecting hygiene products, letters to troops, toys for tots, just kind of the general things that you'd want around the holidays. And it's doing very well. We've gotten a lot of items. There's a box outside in the vestibule for people that do not actually come into the school, and there's 2 boxes inside for people that do come to school.
Jocelyn, can I ask a question?
Yep.
If those of us here would like to donate, do we just purchase a toy or an item, or is there a specific list somewhere that we can look at? Because we might want
That I
to.
can send to you.
It
It
was
includes
shared
like
on Facebook, I saw.
hygiene items. Yeah, it's on Facebook and it's in the Points of Prides every week.
Okay, thanks. I
Um,
just wanted to make sure the board and the public knew where to go to.
but it's just hygiene items, toys, jackets, socks, boots, like winter appliances that you would want.
Okay.
Kind of the general stuff that they usually ask for. Our band and chorus concerts went well. Last night was a chorus concert. Last week was our band concert. And this Thursday is our elementary school band concert, and so elementary, it's like 4 through 6, I believe, and chorus concert. Sports are starting tomorrow. It's a senior game for girls basketball. The JV team plays at 5 and the varsity team plays at 6:30. Our boys basketball team is 2-0 right now. And our A-team middle school basketball team is undefeated. I think they have almost 6 games that they've played and won, which is super awesome.
Wow.
Great program at the moment. Today is the first track meet and I believe hockey game, or not first hockey game. Saturday was the first hockey game. We're gracious to have Phillips Exeter host us for track, and we are playing Dover for home meets or home hockey games. We also hit 103 meals donated for our soup kitchen. And there was an article in the Carriage Town News about our basketball team because we were able to donate over 40 meals.
Jocelyn forgot to mention that she is the one who started the soup kitchen and has run it and has worked really hard at that. So thank you, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that's all the fun news.
All right.
All right, thank you. All right, first public comment. Jump right up.
Kevin Holtz, Kingston. I appreciate everybody's hard work with developing the reentry plan and your careful consideration with the current situation in our schools. But over and over again, you guys state that your number one goal is to keep kids in school. Every case of COVID, so that would be 10% of our population, right, is 5 to 7 school days out for a student. And if they have siblings at home who has to quarantine, it's another 5 to 7 days. And if those siblings catch COVID while they're quarantining at home, it's more time after that. 10% of our students have lost valuable education time, and no matter how much time we try to get it back to them, they cannot get it back. So having COVID cases in our school, yes, it's going to happen. There's nothing we can do to put up a wall and prevent it, but anything we can do to minimize it, we should. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Vault budget. Matt.
Okay, great. So every year we have to sign a form. This is the form right here that defines what the default budget's going to be. And this is a required form and we have to post it throughout the communities so that the taxpayers can get noticed that of what the default budget is. And one of the important things in here is that the school board is going to certify that they've examined the information contained in the form, and to the best of their belief, it's true, correct, and complete. So through the budget questions, a lot of the budget committee members and the school board members have actually asked a lot of questions about the default budget, and we've actually made changes based upon those questions. So I feel confident that you all have reviewed the information and it's accurate. All right. So the total of the default budget as it stands is $37,232,635. So I'd like to pass this around for signature.
Do you need a motion to approve? We already did that, right, at the last meeting?
Actually, no, we did a motion to approve the operating budget.
Okay, so we should do a motion to approve the default.
And also I'm requesting the school board to do a motion to approve of the default budget. Oh, I can't. Oh, sorry.
Move to approve the default budget.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
With regret.
Fair enough.
All right. Are we signing or writing our names here? Oh, we have to do both. I see it.
Yes.
Never mind.
So we could keep that going and move on to,
Yep.
because we're just passing it around.
Okay.
Maybe
and
move.
for position, is it just school board member? Do we need to put what town we are? How do you want?
No,
that done?
just your name and signature,
Okay.
please.
It says position. I'm trying to make
Can I
sure.
use the name
Oh.
Fitzgerald?
Yeah, you can do school board member.
Not Fitzwilliam.
Proud.
Dawn, can I move on to the policies?
Ken.
All right. So for policies,
Wait, nope.
Oh, we skipped
Authorization for
seven,
school board
too.
chair to sign seminary sale.
Oh,
documents.
got so excited to get those policies done. So with this item, what we're looking for is for the board to authorize the chair to sign the documents at the closing for the seminary tomorrow. And Mr. Angel has a resolution so that we don't have to wait for the minutes to be prepared by Phyllis and approved by the board at the next meeting. So Matt, could you read the resolution to the board?
Yes. So at the school board meeting of the board members of Sanborn Regional School District held on December 15th, 2021, at the offices of the school district, a majority of the members being present, it was on motion unanimously. We're just assuming at this point. So voted, whereas at the March 10th, 2020 annual school district election warrant Article 6 authorized the sale of the seminary building and adjacent property upon certain conditions by a vote of 1,783 in favor to 666 against. And whereas a purchase and sale agreement was negotiated and signed by the school district on May 19th, 2020. And whereas the closing and transfer of the seminary building and adjacent property is presently scheduled for December 16th, 2021. Now, therefore, the school board of the Sanborn Regional School District hereby authorizes its chair, Don Dutton, to execute the deed and all other necessary documents to consummate the said transfer and closing. And this is to be signed by the school board secretary based upon your motion this evening, or approval of your motion this evening. Okay.
You need a.
We need a motion
to
and a
accept.
second and a vote.
I make a motion for Dawn to execute.
Put it all on.
Wait a minute, that was a little scary. Can you make a motion for Dawn to sign the documents? Execute kind of made me a little nervous.
Execute the
I'm
documents.
getting out of here.
Yeah, exactly. It's me she'd be executing, so I'm gonna.
I know I'll be number
Twofer.
one.
Oh, thanks.
All right, I think, was it Maura?
I
I
didn't.
seconded it. That was me.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any discussion?
For the record, I just want to know that the documents being executed are the documents that were agreed to in the purchase and sale.
Yes, they are congruent with the purchase and sale.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor? There you go. Now your paperwork's correct.
Great. Thank you very much.
Congratulations on
Oh,
your
yeah.
sale.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm super excited to have this, to have my name on all of it.
Do you have your umbrella policy?
Oh, all right. Okay, now we can move on to policies.
Oh, yay.
Yay!
Okay, so I'll run through these and then you can motion and adopt all together if there are no questions. We did make some changes to BBE. I emailed these to the board prior to the meeting for them to review. The primary change was on, other than edits, was on page 3 under E, paragraph 2.
Which policy?
And the change BBBE. The change now, it now reads discussion by the board of the process to be used to fill a vacancy and the appointment process itself, including candidate interviews, shall occur in public session during duly noticed meetings unless the board members filling the vacancy enter into non-public discussion pursuant to RSA 91A (3) 2 regarding a potential candidate wherein that part of the discussion is likely to adversely affect the reputation of a person other than a board member. And then basically what it's saying is they can choose to go into non-public. Because really, I don't know how you have this discussion without going into non-public, because if you say anything negative about a candidate for one of these positions, you are clearly going to affect their reputation. So I went round and around about this, but the idea was that this clarified that they can go into non-public and that the board members choose. But ultimately, you just follow the law, which says that the law literally says likely. So the question is, Jamie, we had gone back and forth a little bit about this, and I talked to Will Phillips at length twice. Are you good at this point with that?
It's not the way I would have worded it, but it's coming at it at a different angle. So I think it's still providing
The coverage. Yeah. And just to be clear for the record, for the video, if the 3 people, 2 people, whoever's doing the interviewing feel that they need to go into non-public to discuss, likely is a very wide range. And they have the right to do that. So I just want that to be clear. Okay, let's keep going. Academic freedom, we added, oh, Phyllis, this is not the correct one. I'll get it. It's okay. I got it. The IB is,
Yeah, here.
okay, I got it.
Want it?
Oh, it's okay. There were 2 copies of IB running around for a while there, and I took control of one. So.
This one's much better.
Yeah, you like that one better?
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't. It's too brief. Which, Jim, I tend to agree with you. I like better. Dawn, I added 2 small paragraphs in there about. Jamie, do you want to read them?
I could.
Yeah, why don't you? While I'm looking it up here, it saves time.
So the paragraphs are in segment D that say this was the parts of the law that we had talked about last time that weren't in the original policy that say violation of the policy by an educator shall be considered a violation of the educator code of conduct that justifies disciplinary action by the State Board of Education. For purposes of this policy, educator means professional employee of any school district whose position requires certification by the state board pursuant to RSA 189:39. Administrators, specialists, and teachers are included within the definition of this term. Just one point, Tom, as I read that, I didn't catch this before, of any school district. I think it should just say the school district.
That's fine. We can change
Yeah,
it to
I mean,
the
because
school district.
we only have influence on our school district.
Yeah. It was lifted from the law.
Yeah.
So that's fine. We can do the of the school district. So I'll adjust that right now.
Interesting.
What's going on?
She's got a different one.
I do
Hers
too.
is marked differently than
Okay,
mine.
hold on, everyone. I will share this with you all right now.
That would be great.
All right, it's in your email.
Okay, dokie.
Let's just take a second and make sure everyone's got the same one because we want to wrap this up tonight for sure.
Oh yeah, that's very different.
So this is the same policy that we discussed last week, except for we added the language under letter D. Violation of this policy by an educator shall be considered a violation of the Educator Code of Conduct that justifies disciplinary sanction by the State Board of Education. For the purposes of this policy, educator means a professional employee of the school district whose position requires certification by the state board pursuant to RSA 189:7:39. Administrators, specialists, and teachers are included within the definition of this term. I want to just make sure for the record, anyone else who violates it will still have disciplinary action. It's just that we can't go to the board. We can't go to the Educator Code of Conduct. The Educator Code of Conduct only applies to the educators as defined by the Code of Conduct. The other disciplinary measures would be handled through other means. Everyone good?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, gonna keep going. Sorry, Jim, I like shorter better too.
Yeah.
Policy JICC. Have these in here. So JICC and JICCR had some changes around the referral to the superintendent for length of suspension. So the problem is that if the suspension is longer than 20 days, it would go directly to the school board. But I did put in there that they could appeal to me if it was appropriate to do so. So I just cleaned that language up that we discussed at the last meeting. And it had to be adjusted in both. You can't adjust R, which is the procedure, without adjusting the policy that drives the procedure. So that's why I put them both back on the agenda. So this is really, by the way, I just want to say this is really good work, right? Like we've worked really hard to get policies that make sense to our district. And one of the primary roles of a school board is to set the budget and policies. So thank you. I really appreciate the hard work that people have put into this.
All right. So you need a
motion to move the group as amended for second read.
Jamie.
Just on the JICCR, you didn't mention it, but did you pick up the differences where we referenced the same step numbers, 1 through 24 or whatever on both of them? And then we said, no, it should be like 1 through 13 on one and then 13 going forward on the other?
I did not.
We had talked about that. I didn't know if that got.
I added your number one, where students shall treat all people on the bus with kindness and decency.
Yeah, no, I see where it's changed 18 to 23. So it's in there.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I couldn't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them in a week.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't
I
mention
get a
it. I'm
little
like, oh,
blurry
I
there.
missed that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to move policy BBBE, policy IB, policy JICC, and policy JICCR?
So moved.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, unanimous. There we go. All right, discussion on potential move of 3rd and 6th grade. Tom.
Thanks. So I think it's important for us to keep this topic on the agenda, that it's out there, that pre-K, universal pre-K is still on the agenda. I think that it's a common tactic for the federal government to push big bills or big issues right up to the holiday break. And they both use the holiday break as a leverage point to try to get things passed and done. It's not uncommon. I think that it's important to note for the public that universal pre-K is still in the proposed budget. And I would advise you as a school board to consider tabling this until we see what happens in January, with the caveat of this. At some point, we have to make a decision about what we're going to do for next year, partly so the kids know where they're going to school next year and the staff. And the administration is saying that if we're going to move 3rd grade and 6th grade eventually, the administration would prefer to do it sooner than later so that it's just done and we don't have another move looming off in the future. Having said that, I recognize, and I struggle with this one big time, because I think at this point, if we do get universal pre-K, it's a year after next year now that it will come. When we were talking about this in August, there was a real possibility that it could happen next year. Now it's more of a real possibility that it'll be a year away from next year. I don't feel the urge. I'm glad that I brought it up. I know it's really hard and I know it's distracting and it's not easy to talk about, but I'm also trying not to surprise people anymore, right? I've been here for 4 years. I know what's going on in the district. I know what we need to do. And I'm trying to give everyone heads up as I can, like any good coach or leader would do. Tell you, this is what I see coming in the future. Universal pre-K is very likely coming. If it doesn't, then it's a whole different conversation. Then it's more about philosophy if it doesn't come. If the universal pre-K does come, it's about space and logistics. It's a completely different conversation. So my advice to you as a board is, let's put this on the agenda for right after break on the 5th. That's my advice. It's 2 weeks away. Let's table it for 2 more weeks and then have a really deep conversation about it. Because if they don't move it by then, we need to make a decision pretty soon about what we're going to do for next year.
It's not in the budget, it's in the Build Back Better bill.
Thank you for clarifying, Peter. I did make a mistake. If it was in, yeah, no, it's in the Build Back Better bill.
Joe Manson and the other lady's gonna.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying. I did misspeak.
Just a question.
Yep.
Other than if the bill passes, the universal pre-K bill passes, is there any other reason for moving 3rd and 6th grade?
Let's have that discussion on the 5th of January.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And yes, there are other reasons, but I don't want to do the conversation now.
All right.
All right, second public comment. All right, then we'll move on. Next meeting agenda, next Sanborn Regional School Board meeting will be held on Wednesday, January
Phone's not
5th,
public right now.
2022 at 6 p.m. in the library at the Sanborn Regional High School. And also the filing period for positions on the Sanborn Regional School Board, the Sanborn Regional Budget Committee, and the district moderator will open on Wednesday, January 19th, 2022, and end on Friday, January 28th, 2022 at 5 p.m. The candidate filing forms may be obtained at the SAU office from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. located in the Christie Building at 51 Church Street in Kingston. The school district clerk will be available on the last day to file until 5:00 PM. And now, Mr. Broderick, if you could bring us into non-public, we would appreciate it.
Well, just one announcement before that. January 5th is my birthday. Presents will be greatly appreciated. Well, if you don't ask, you don't get. This way I've asked. If I don't get it, I won't be disappointed. I don't get them from my wife. But anyway, okay.
You're gonna get it from her tonight for that.
Well, she spends my money for buy me something anyway. So that's the difference.
Peter, socks okay?
Star Wars socks.
Or candy?
Cards to Home Depot.
Okay.
There we go.
Or actually, Lowe's are better. I get an extra 5% off on that one. Okay, here we go. Madam Chairman, make a motion. We go non-public according to RSA 91-A:32 C and K.
All right.
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Pete,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Maura,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and myself, yes. All right.
Okay,
all right.
Madam Chair, make a motion. We seal the minutes in perpetuity.
Second.
Non-public minutes, sorry.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
All right.
All right, unanimous.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we ratify the support staff contract. It's a 3-year contract that we'd be ratifying. Year 1, it has a cost of $159,890. Year 2 has a cost of $96,809. Year 3 has a cost of $94,544. Those would be the amounts that would appear on the warrant article to go to the voters for approval in March.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, I'd like to just make some comments on this. I was involved in the negotiations. First, I think that this is a very good result. I think it's a good result for the support staff. I think it's a good result for the district. I think it's a good result for the taxpayers. We have struggled mightily getting the help that we need to implement the intervention programs that we were trying to implement, and we have not succeeded in that. Now, certainly COVID had an impact on it. We needed to be in a different perspective going forward to be able to succeed. We have been able to increase the wage structure so that we can have a opening wage that recognizes the work of our support staff and can actually give them an incentive to actually come and work for us and help us to achieve our goals as a district. I will say that I found the negotiations, as in any negotiations, it gets a little bit interesting at times. And it certainly did that, but I will say that across the table, there was a general feeling on all sides, at least my perception was that we were in this together for the benefit of the district. And there's a lot of back and forth that went forward. And truly, I believe our side of the table understood the needs of the support staff and tried to devise something that was going to work for them. And I think we've achieved that. I also would like to thank the people on the other side of the table, because I think they truly tried to understand and did understand what we are facing as a district and what we were trying to achieve, and how could we do this together and make a better situation than what we had before. And I think that this achieves that. I think it achieves it at a reasonable amount. I very much support this, and I will be lobbying in the district to ensure that this will get passed by the taxpayers, because we need this as a district. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Any other comments? All right, all in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Fabulous. All right. Do we have
Yeah.
another motion?
We do have another motion, yep. So we need someone to. Yeah, we need a motion for the lease of the, what is known on the tax records as the music building and the garage at the Sanborn Seminary. Upon the closing of the Sanborn Seminary sale with Eric Chinberg, we will need to lease that building back for 1 year at a time with a 6-month option to vacate, so that Eric can do the work that he needs to do. And the administration feels that we are comfortable with vacating the building with 6 months notice, should we need to, either building with 6 months notice, that's plenty of time for us to move and reorganize whatever we need to do. It's primarily technology and facilities.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Thank you.
All right. Any discussion? All right. All in favor? All right. Unanimous.
Now, just to clarify, that's $1 per building.
It is $1 per building,
Okay,
$1 per building, so
year.
it's $2 a year.
Double the cost.
You just went up 100%, Jamie.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
I think we should
You
vote
had to say
again.
that.
Oh, God. All right. There is nothing else. So we are officially adjourned.